Hi, we're here at the Pacific Coast and my name is Bren Curtis. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this area and also we're going to take a tour of the elephant seals. So you might ask, why do I want to learn about the elephant seals? There's basically three reasons. The first is that they have a very good story about their survival. The second is that we can learn from them, from their adaptations and their survival strategies. Scientists can apply that to the scientific knowledge. And the last reason is we can learn lessons from them of how to recover endangered species and apply that to our general cultural mindset of what we need to do. The first reason that we're here, the survival story of the elephant seals. Back hundreds of thousands of years ago, the Pacific Ocean was bountiful with marine life. And then all of a sudden, in the 1800s, late 1800s, there were only 100 elephant seals left. So why do you think there was only 100 elephant seals? What could be the reason to have caused that decline? You might say, well, was it a disease? And there was no evidence that we can find that it was a disease. What about the climate? Well, the Ice Age was over. Before it was over, a lot of indigenous people had gone over the land bridge from Asia to Alaska and then filtered down into the Pacific Coast area. They were an indigenous people that had a sustainable lifestyle. They were called the Ohlone or the coastal Miwoks. And that you will find middens out in the area. They're just hot mounds that have archaeological finds with implements of what they fished with. And you will also find there two kinds of rocks that are found in this area. And if I can get my grandson Riggs to get the plastic bag with the rocks in it. And this is called diatomaceous earth. And it is very porous, very lightweight. It can stick to your finger. And it's diatoms, or algae and little marine life that had a silicone exoskeleton. And millions of them get crushed down under the sea, and they make this diatomaceous earth. You'll find that here, and there is also something else here. It is chert. And Riggs, if you will strike it and let everybody smell, you will smell oil. So the indigenous people might have wanted to use this as an energy source, but they couldn't have the technology to get the oil out. They use this instead for arrowheads because it flakes off into sharp angled pieces that can be used for arrowheads. So this is one of the things that you'll find in the middens. So let's advance forward to this 1800s, and the Spanish were coming up from the south, the Russians were coming in from the north and west, and settlers, American settlers, were coming in from the east. So this area all of a sudden had only 100 elephant seals. So why do you think the elephant seal numbers got down that low? Could it be disease? Well, there's not much evidence of that, so we can put that on the back burner and consider it. But what about the Ice Age was already over? And what other reason could there be? Maybe they're predators? Well, their predators are the orcas and the great whites, but their numbers weren't over-exploding, and there was not a difference in their population, so it shouldn't have changed the population of the elephant seal unless they'd lost their defenses. And then perhaps their food was gone. Perhaps they eat squid, rays, bottom fish, and small sharks. They get back at the sharks that way. But so why? Why do you think the elephant seals numbers were so low? Part of it was going back to this chert And the people were coming into the area and their populations were increasing. They needed energy, and they had taken a lot of the logs for their fires, and so they were looking for sources of energy. And since they had the ability to go out to sea, they were capturing whales and using that blubber for an energy source and for lights. They would have their lanterns filled with the oil rendered from the blubber of the whales. And so when the whales are out to sea, and they're very big, and it's kind of dangerous to go out and capture them, but elephant seals come to shore twice a year, and they're very easy to capture. And that combination of an energy need and the ability to capture these animals when they come to shore led to their demise. So Mexico put them on the endangered list, and then the United States did, and we became patrons. And there are about 15 stations along the Pacific coast that have been taken up by the elephant seals. When they were hunted down to 100 animals, there were only a few islands that they went to. And because only 10% of the males actually sire or become fathers for the next generation, their gene pool was very narrowed, and so they're still very vulnerable in case something happened to a disease came along that was affected by the DNA. So we want to, that's comes into the third reason why we're studying it, is how we can better understand the diversity and the reasons how things interrelate to
I hope you could hear the trumpet of the alpha bull. It sounds a little bit like a motorcycle starting. You will also hear the guttural sounds of the females and the sharp cries of the pups. These elephant seals are trying to establish dominance so that they can protect the harem of about 25 females. At first they will try to trumpet, and if the other one doesn't back down, they will get into a fight like you see right here. And you can see them pushing against each other. They will try to see how high and how much bigger the other one will be. They will puff up their proboscis, their noses, and try to be bigger than the other one, like the one that's on the ocean side right now. But the one that's on the land side on the left is probably going to win, because he's pushing the other one back out to sea. So most of the time they try to bluff and save their energy, and you won't see a fight like this. But they do get scars on their chest. They're called chests or shields, and you can tell an alpha bull by the amount of peak scarring that they have, and they usually are located in the middle of a harem. Someone asked if they fight until the other one dies, and that usually doesn't happen, but they can die eventually from a wound that they suffered under a fight.
That they come in for birth. They are coming into land according to our holidays. So if you ever want to remember when the elephant seals are here and you want to come see them, just remember our holidays. Christmas is birthing time. Valentine's is mating time. Memorial Day, the females come back to molt. And in August, the males will come back to molt. And I wanted to get my granddaughter, Lena, to go and get the little plastic bag with the elephant seal fur and the whiskers. So this is a big piece of elephant seal fur. So why did the elephant seals come back to molt? Why can't they just do it like we do, 24 hours a day, our skin sloughs off? Well, the reason is because their circulation, when the Pacific Ocean is so cold, they actually can shunt their blood circulation so it just goes to the vital organs. And when it's time for them to grow their skin, they do it at one time a year. It's called a catastrophic molt, and the only other seal that does this is the mug seal. But they will, so what happens is they come to shore, their blood circulation goes out throughout their body, and the shunt is released, and so they are growing new skin. And as the new skin comes in, the old skin sloughs off, and it's kind of like Velcro. If you look at it and feel it, and it comes off in the sand, you'll find pieces of the sand. And they also shed their whiskers, and their whiskers help them when they make deep dives so that it's very dark down there. They can feel when the ocean currents or when other creatures are near them. So this is why they come to shore and do this catastrophic molt. And again, the females do it in the first part around in May, and the males do it around August. And the little pups they come out, and they weigh about 60 pounds when they're born. And they come out and they're very dark looking, and they will molt gradually into a lighter color. And so let me give you a little bit of information about seals in general. Pinnipeds is the group of marine mammals that are seals, and they're basically three types. There's the walrus that have the tusk. There are the California sea lions. They're the eared seals that have exterior ears that you can see, and their fins are a lot longer. So you see California sea lions and SeaWorld shows because they actually can walk on them and clap and do tricks with them. But elephant seals have very short fins. In fact, pinniped means feather foot or spread out foot like a fin. And so that's how the name came for seals, or the group was named for seals. So the elephant seals are what is called a true seal because they don't have an exterior ear look that shows, and they have the short fins. So these elephant seals are very large. They can be up to 3 to 5,000 tons, and they can be 15 feet long. And let's go out and see them, and then I'll give you a little bit more information.
The female in the middle of the screen is contracting and going into labor, so we may get to see a birth. If you look up to the right, you will see 3 pups trying to nurse from the same mother, and that is probably going to be the demise of all 3 because the mothers only have enough milk for 1 pup. Each pup weighs 60 pounds when it's born, and it will get up to 250 pounds, and it has to gain that much weight because it will fast for a month and a half until it can turn that blubber into muscle and go out to sea and dive. The milk from these females is 40% fat, and that's how these pups are able to gain that much weight. Sometimes there will be a pup that steals milk from other mothers that have lost their pup, and they can gain up to 400 pounds. Looks like this mother has turned her back away from us, but sometimes she will wiggle around and we'll be able to see the birth. Most of the time, pups are born fins first, but occasionally they come out with head first. So most of the seals have breech births. Let's see if hopefully we can see this birth. This female is really pushing and very agitated. So let's see what we can see here. Hopefully she will turn around. And it looks like to me that there is a head first. So this is a little bit unusual, but let's see if we can see a birth. That'd be so exciting. And so we have a birth. How exciting! You got to see a birth of a seal. It's right on New Year's. So the seagulls will come in and they do go after the afterbirth. They are the cleanup crew. And that's one of the ways that you can tell that there's about to be a birth, because as we first saw this seal, there were some seagulls starting to gather already.
Has lost about a third of their weight and has to go out to sea and replenish herself. So the weaners go off and they form these groups called weaner pods because they have been weaned from their moms, and all of a sudden friends become more important than their family, because they are going to have to learn how to swim. They're going to have to learn how to make a deep dive to get away from predators. They're going to have to learn where to find the food. And they also have to know how to get back to this natal beach where they were born. So they do all that. Part of it's DNA coded, and part of it is just learning from each other. It's like they all of a sudden become teenagers. And my granddaughter Kendall spends a lot of times with her friends. So in your teenage years, friends become very important. So you want to be careful how you pick them. In elephant seal world, you want to pick a chubby friend because he is nursed enough to where all of that blubber is going to turn into muscle, and he's going to be strong enough to make a deep dive and find the food, get away from predators, and survive. So in elephant world, chubby is better because it gets converted to muscle very soon, and that's how that is their survival strategy. But it is most of the time they get to their natal beaches, and they have to have some sort of way to do that. And we think if you think about the vegetation that is around this area, it will have a certain mix, and there'll be other drainages, magnetic field. It could be the smells of the vegetation. It could be the pull of gravity and high tides and low tides. It could be a combination of everything, but and some way or another it's probably encoded in their DNA too, and so they do find their way back most of the time to their natal beach. But these are wonderful mammals that teach each other and help each other in these weaner pods, and they're great fun to watch because they're playing, but the males actually are mock fighting and building their muscles, and play is very important, and it's important for all of us to remember to play. So let's go and watch the next segment.
Okay, in this situation, a female has given birth to a pup recently, and you can tell the one that's got her mouth open right there, or in the middle, the female that's on the left, you can see that she has a lot of moisture around her eyes. So I'm assuming she gave birth, went into a deep sleep after it, and all of a sudden woke up and she was facing this other pup that belongs to the female on the right. And so she thinks it's her pup. And usually when the pup is born, the mother will turn around and voice right very close to the head of the baby and try to implant or imprint her voice and her smell so the baby will recognize her. But in this case, the mother just suddenly woke up and got mixed up. And they do, I think, eventually get it straightened out. But you can see that alpha bull right there is moving toward the pup. And I think they do get it straightened out because this other mother is being very protective, and she was not going to let this mother steal her pup. And that's what's happening in this case. You can see the pup in the back that belonged to that mother that got mixed up, and it's waking up a little bit and calling out for her. While we're watching the elephant seals, I wanted to go over some of the scientific studies that might be of interest to some of the doctors and physical therapists in the audience, like my son and daughter-in-law. These elephant seals fast for 3 months. They do not eat or drink anything. And the reason that they can do that is because their systems recycle that blubber into energy, and the moisture is reabsorbed in the catacomb-like tissues in the proboscis of the male. Also, they have another adaptation for deep diving. They can go down for 1 hour and as deep as a mile, although their average dive is only 2,000 feet, and it is about 30 minutes, and then they come up for a few minutes of air. But to make those deep dives, they have twice as much blood volume as the normal land animal, and they have about 40% more red blood cells than we do. So they can exhale, and their bodies will be oxygenated while they're making that deep dive. They also have delayed implantation, something like the bears, and the females will lose 1/3 of their weight after they nurse the baby, and then they will go into estrus. The male will mate with them. The cytoplasm will it's the blastocysts that will float for a few months, and then it will attach after the female has been out in the ocean and can replenish herself. She tends to go straight out toward Japan, where the males will go all the way up to Alaska to feed. But this cytoplasm will attach itself, and then the gestation is 9 months, so that she can come back to her natal beach around late December about the same time that the alpha bulls will be establishing their aggression and protecting the harems. Next, we'll look at some beta bulls while these alpha bulls are fighting. So here is a beta bull and a female, and he is trying to take advantage of the situation when the alpha bull is off fighting another alpha for the control of the harem. So males do not grow the proboscis until they're about 3 or 4 years old, and there is sexual dimorphism between the male and female. The female is about 1/3 of the size, and the male is the only one that has the large elephant-like proboscis. So this beta bull will try to mate with a female, but she is resisting pretty well. She's hoping that the alpha gets finished with his fight and can come back and protect her pretty soon.
Thank you for coming, and I hope you learned a little bit. Every time I come out here, I learn a little bit more about the elephant seals, and I've been coming for years. So I want to leave you with the challenge to provoke you to continue lifelong learning. Not only can you learn from these elephant seals, but we need to learn and go beyond the patron mindset where we know everything, we think we can take care of everything, because we are always learning something new, and we need to keep this earth as diverse and as beautiful as it is for our next generations and the generations after that. So thank you for coming, and continue learning.